Hi there, this is Ronnie Amber's Night coming at you with another video. Um, Wil Wheaton is currently doing, I think it's Indiegogo. They're uh, they're doing a Kickstarter for season 3 of Tabletop, so that they can be truly independent. Now, as far as I'm aware, they've reached their first goal. They were looking for $500,000 in order to get, I think, 15 or 16 episodes of Tabletop filmed. If they get to 750,000, I think they're going for 20, and if they get to the million or more, they're going to do the 20 plus. They're going to do a spin-off show highlighting role-playing games. I hope that they reach their goal. I really do, and I wish them well for it. I would love to see them do a show on role-playing games, and I guess what I'm going to throw out here is for people to post what they think the game should be that Wil Wheaton should show. Now, we all have our favourites, I'm sure, but it has to be a game that will come across to a casual viewer, because ultimately we want games that will appeal to casual viewers as well as people like ourselves who have played role-playing games for many years. Because of that, and I'm going to sound controversial here, because of the whole thing of feats and skills and all the rest of it, I don't think games like D&D, certainly D&D 3 and 4, or Pathfinder are going to sit very well in that. I certainly wouldn't suggest something like A Song of Ice and Fire or Pendragon. I think it has to be much more cut back and basic than that. If what they're going to do is play one game as a campaign, what rules do they use? Do they use something very really stripped back, like some of the old school Renaissance games? The YouTube RPG Brigade Facebook page has a conversation going on about what games we think might go down well. Dark Dungeons I mentioned. Someone mentioned Dungeon World, which again is one. I think I also mentioned Dungeon Slayers. It's kind of a dungeon theme running. I think it is more likely to be a fantasy game. That's not set in stone, of course. It could be something modern day. It could be sci-fi. It could be horror. It really depends. But do they do something like Savage Worlds? Do they do something like the old school games? Do they bite the bullet and go for something quite complex? Do they use miniatures, or do they do it without the miniatures and the battle mats, as they did for the Dragon Age 2-parter? Now, I happen to like the way they did that, and I personally would hope that they don't use miniatures, because I don't use miniatures, but as I know many people do use miniatures, I could understand that for a campaign they might put them in, as a visual cue, if nothing else. But personally, role-playing games do well enough without them. So I'm throwing it out there to you guys, really. Let's have a little conversation on this and see. I don't necessarily think there's any right or wrong answers on this one, just people's opinions on what they think would work well within the parameters of tabletop, and what people think is a good game or not may not be the same as what would be a good game to show within the sort of limitations of a tabletop. I think out of necessity it can't be anything particularly complex. I mean, I think even BRP and all the variants on that, from Cthulhu to RuneQuest to Legend and all points in between, I think might be a little too much. I may be wrong on that. BRP might be exactly what they want. It might be something like GURPS. It could even be something like Fate. If they're going for the sort of campaign, sort of long campaign, I don't see them using games like Fiasco, which from what I've seen is a game that you really, well, first of all, you don't need a GM for it. And secondly, it's good for one-shots, but not really for a campaign. So I'd be interested to see how they do it. Personally, what I would love to see them do is maybe film a series of one-night, one-shot games using different rules, and then editing that down to maybe 1-2 hours for an episode, so that casual gamers or people who don't know anything about RPGs can get a good flavour of different genres. I would love to see that. I would love to see different genres being represented with good introductory style games that first-time gamers into RPGs could take. I like that idea. I like the idea of doing RPGs that way. But they may decide to do one game and do a full game and film it over several episodes. So yeah, would love to hear your thoughts on this, because I think it's an interesting topic.